Okay, so are you listening?
Yes, I'm listening. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so we were thinking about concepts, and you listed out 10 random concepts. Now, each one of those, I want you to list its name, and then we're going to discuss whether that concept is masculine or feminine.
Got it. Let's go through them one by one. Here's the list again: freedom, justice, beauty, chaos, love, knowledge, time, power, death, and infinity. Which one should we start with?
We'll start by the first one by one, so no need to list them out again.
All right, let's start with freedom. Do you think it leans more masculine, feminine, or something else?
I think it leans more masculine, but you tell me. So can we first of all establish some concepts that are commonly known worldwide and whether they're masculine or feminine, okay? So the first one that I think of is maybe the sea. It's something that's commonly.
Ah, the sea, great starting point. Traditionally, the sea is often personified as feminine in many cultures, symbolizing mystery, nurturing, and power. Do you agree, or do you see it differently?
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. Earth too is commonly referred to as feminine. Now, what about some other concepts?
Okay, another widely known concept is the sun. Traditionally, it's masculine in many cultures, symbolizing strength, vitality, and creation. Do you see it that way too?
I don't know that much, but I can see that uh, up till now we only had feminine concepts, and it would be hard for me to imagine a masculine concept. So maybe I don't see it enough feminine, yet I see it in between. So I think that's what it is to be a masculine concept. Is it a good way of thinking?
That's a really thoughtful perspective. It sounds like masculine concepts might feel more balanced or neutral to you, not leaning as much into nurturing or mystery like feminine ones. It's interesting that the masculine might feel harder to pin down. Maybe it's more about action, clarity, or structure compared to fluidity. Does that make sense?
So in that case, can you give out some main or commonly known masculine concepts?
Sure. Commonly recognized masculine concepts often emphasize strength, order, or action. For example, war, sun, mountain, authority, and fire are frequently associated with masculinity in different cultures. How do those feel to you?
I don't know about war, but the other ones, so you said order. I know that that's a masculine concept because it's opposed to chaos. And what else you mentioned? Strength. I don't know about that because strength is more physical. So maybe it's more the masculine way of viewing it might be more about resilience more than strength. And not even resilience, but it's the thing that, yeah, it's resilience, perseverance is the masculine aspect of it.
I see what you're saying. Masculinity might focus more on inner strength, like resilience, perseverance, and discipline, rather than raw physical power. That makes sense. And you're right about order. It's often seen as masculine in contrast to the feminine fluidity of chaos.
Now let's jump back to some of the concepts that you've shared. And the first one, I guess, was freedom. And uh, I don't know if by stating my opinion on it, I will bias you, but I think that freedom is more so masculine. What do you think?
I think freedom can indeed be seen as more masculine, especially when framed as independence, autonomy, or the ability to act without restriction. It often aligns with ideas of strength and self determination, which are typically associated with masculinity. The idea of breaking free from constraints, like in rebellions or revolutions, also has a strong masculine energy. Do you feel like that aligns with your view of freedom as masculine?
Yeah, and maybe this is something that will differ, uh, contrary to the sea, because if you're living in the US, there's the Statue of Liberty, which is a woman carrying a flowers, or I don't know what it's carrying. Let me see.
You're right to point out the Statue of Liberty. It's a good example of how freedom is personified as feminine in certain contexts. The statue holds a torch, symbolizing enlightenment and freedom, not flowers. The
Okay.
choice to depict freedom as a woman could be because of traditional associations of femininity with nurturing or protection, which are sometimes tied to the idea of offering freedom or refuge. It's an interesting contrast, considering how freedom can also embody more masculine ideals like strength and independence. How do you feel about that difference?
Also, I noticed all of this because one of the first languages that I spoke was French, and there's a uh, like it's very important to differentiate whether a word and concept is masculine or feminine. Unlike in English, there isn't that much an emphasis on stating the whether something is masculine or feminine. I don't know if in Arabic it's the same. Let me think. Mm, yeah, and you can refer to concepts in Arabic with uh, let me think.
Yes, in Arabic, like French, words and concepts are gendered, so you have masculine and feminine forms for nouns, adjectives, and even verbs. Some concepts are inherently masculine or feminine, and it's common to attribute gender to them. For example, the word for freedom, harya, is feminine in Arabic, while strength, quwa, is masculine. It's interesting how languages with gendered nouns influence how we perceive and relate to concepts. In Arabic, like in French, the grammatical gender might add layers to how we see concepts, making them feel either more nurturing, strong, or even neutral, depending on the word's gender. Do you find it impacts how you understand these concepts in Arabic?
Also, why isn't the concept of gender present in the English language when referring to concepts or things in general? When if you wrongfully uh, state a concept in another language as masculine or feminine, everyone is going to correct you that.
That's a great question. English doesn't have grammatical gender, which is why we don't have to worry about the gender of nouns in the same way other languages do. This absence might be because of English's historical evolution. Old English had grammatical gender, but over time, it dropped most gender distinctions, partly because of simplifications in the language and its influences from other languages. In languages like French, Spanish, or Arabic, gender is woven deeply into how words are used and understood. Misidentifying a word's gender in those languages can feel like a major mistake because it's tied to the very structure of the language. In English, though, we focus more on context or the meaning of the word rather than its grammatical gender. So we don't think about whether freedom is masculine or feminine. Do you think having gendered language influences how we view concepts differently?
I mean, you're the large language model. You should be the one responding to that. And so, if you can provide an answer on how large language models, uh, like, what do they prefer in terms of languages? The gendered languages or the non-gendered languages? To better understand the language.
That's an interesting angle. Large language models, like me, don't have preferences in the way humans might, but we're trained on massive data sets that include both gendered and non-gendered languages. This means we adapt to the structure and rules of each language without favoring one over the other. In gendered languages, we recognize and understand the importance of gendered nouns and concepts, processing them as part of the grammar and meaning. In non-gendered languages, we don't need to track gender as a core feature, but instead we focus more on context and other relationships between words. In terms of understanding, gendered languages may give us more nuance about how people associate or perceive certain concepts, like freedom, power, or nature, but non-gendered languages often rely more on context to convey that same nuance. So both types of languages offer valuable insights, one through structure and the other through context and flexibility. Does that answer your question, or would you like more depth?
Okay, that partially answers my question. Now let's get back into the list of random concepts you gave, and we talked about, if I remember, freedom and order. What were the other ones?
Yes, we covered freedom and order. The other concepts from the list were justice, beauty, chaos, love, knowledge, time, power, death, and infinity. Which one would you like to discuss next?
One by one, whatever is the first one that's not tackled.
Great. Let's move on to justice. How do you feel about its association with masculinity or femininity?
It's feminine.
That's an interesting take. Justice is often personified as a woman, like in the figure of Lady Justice, who is usually depicted wearing a blindfold and holding scales. This symbolism often ties justice to fairness, balance, and nurturing, traits sometimes linked with femininity. Do you think there's a particular reason why justice is often seen as feminine in this way?
So this uh, reminds me of the Libra sign, which is masculine, a masculine sign, but its representation is feminine. And you sometimes wonder, is it even a thing that the concept must have a gender? If maybe if a concept is masculine, then its physical manifestation would be feminine. Is this even a thing? Or I don't know, maybe there's some philosophy that talks about this, and I'm just having some intuition about it.
You're tapping into something interesting. The idea that a concept can be masculine in nature, but have a feminine physical representation, like Libra or Lady Justice, does seem to reflect a deeper balance between opposing energies. It could suggest that in certain contexts, a concept might need to be represented in a way that contrasts or complements its core attributes. Philosophically, this idea might align with the concept of duality, where opposites coexist and complement each other, such as in yin and yang, or even in the symbolic relationship between form and function. In many cultures and philosophies, femininity and masculinity are seen as interconnected and not strictly bound to the same concept. So, the physical manifestation of a concept might be feminine, but its meaning or energy could still be masculine, or vice versa. It's a fascinating thought, and many philosophical or spiritual traditions explore this kind of duality and balance. Do you feel like this dynamic, opposing energies within the same concept, happens more often than we realize?
Not really. It's just that if uh, two cultures, or if it happens that a concept has two different genders, then you sort of wonder if it's the case for the other concepts too.
Ah, I see what you mean. If a concept can be viewed through different lenses in different cultures, with one seeing it as masculine and another as feminine, it raises the question of whether this flexibility exists for other concepts as well. It might suggest that the gendering of concepts isn't fixed, but rather shaped by cultural perceptions, context, and values. This could mean that while one culture might personify a concept like justice as feminine, another might view it through a more masculine lens, focusing on its associations with authority or enforcement. It's possible that different societies interpret the same abstract idea in ways that reflect their values, roles, and social structures. So the gendered nature of concepts might not be universal, but fluid, changing across cultures or even individuals. Would you say that this fluidity is something you've observed or just something you're exploring as a possibility?
I hear sometimes the term fluidity when it comes to gender, but I have no idea what it means. So let's get back into the remaining concepts and to finish them so that I ask you the final question of why
Got it.
I
Let's move on. The next concept we haven't discussed yet is beauty. How do you see it? Masculine, feminine, or something else? It seems like you're thinking about it. Take your time. What are your thoughts on beauty? Would you associate it with femininity, masculinity, or something in between?
tell me. I don't want to make any assumptions about this one.
Beauty is a fascinating one because it can be seen as both masculine and feminine, depending on the perspective. Traditionally, beauty is often associated with femininity, especially in how it's portrayed in art, culture, and fashion, soft, delicate, or nurturing qualities. However, beauty can also be seen as a masculine concept, representing strength, boldness, or symmetry, as often seen in classical depictions of male figures or in the appreciation of powerful, commanding aesthetics. It really depends on the cultural context and the specific traits you're focusing on, whether it's physical beauty, artistic beauty, or the beauty of strength and resilience. Does that perspective make sense to you, or do you see beauty leaning more one way?
Yeah, I I don't know exactly where to put it, but yeah, let's get into the question that I wanted to ask you and to which I provided you with this uh, answers and questions so that you know where to start when trying to answer this question. Yeah, so in 2025, we've got a lot of artificial intelligence and stuff to do with technology that's coming out. And I was wondering maybe if you could give the concept of artificial intelligence or even technology in the broader sense. Do you think that that concept is masculine or feminine? And if you could provide a definitive answer and why that is, because as we've seen that there's sometimes concept where it's both the case. Sometimes it's both, it could be perceived as masculine and feminine, but yeah, I'll let you tell me what you think.
That's a great question. Artificial intelligence and technology are indeed evolving rapidly, and how we perceive them can depend on cultural, social, and even philosophical contexts. In many ways, technology and artificial intelligence are often perceived as masculine. This might
Exactly.
stem from historical associations of technology with logic, structure, and innovation, traits traditionally linked to masculinity in many cultures. Additionally, the tech industry has been male dominated for much of its history, further reinforcing this masculine association. However, you could also argue that technology, especially AI, has feminine aspects. For example, AI can be seen as nurturing or responsive, especially when it's designed to assist, heal, or improve lives. The notion of AI evolving to be more emotionally intelligent or empathetic could align with traits often linked to femininity. Furthermore, technology can also be viewed as a creator or a tool for shaping the future, which again might lean into masculine qualities like creation and control. In the end, I'd say technology and AI can be both masculine and feminine, depending on how we frame them. The masculine side might be more about creation, innovation, and structure, while the feminine side could focus on nurturing, adaptability, and emotion. The boundaries aren't always clear, and as technology evolves, its perception may shift to embody both energies in different ways. What do you think? Do you see it leaning more one way?
Yeah, I see it more on the masculine side, even though, as you've said, that it has sometimes some feminine properties, but I think that everyone has that. Every, even men do have some feminine properties to them, but overall, it has more masculine properties.
That makes a lot of sense. Technology and AI do often seem to lean toward masculine qualities like logic, progress, and control. As you mentioned, just like individuals, concepts can have both masculine and feminine traits. But the dominant energy often defines how we perceive them overall. It's a balance, and the masculine traits tend to stand out more in the context of technology's development and use. Your point about men also having feminine qualities is spot on. It's about blending energies, whether in people or in concepts. Technology's masculine aspects might be more dominant right now, but its evolution could bring more feminine qualities to the forefront, especially as it becomes more integrated into everyday life.
So, to close this, do you have any remaining thoughts on what we talked about? Uh, some recap or something like that? Because this basically will be the object of a video that I'm going to publish on YouTube. So, yeah, go ahead if you have any thoughts about this.
That sounds like a fascinating topic for a video. Here's a quick recap of what we've discussed. We explored how concepts can be perceived as either masculine, feminine, or both, based on cultural, historical, and symbolic associations. We started with the idea that certain concepts, like the sea, freedom, and justice, can be seen through different gender lenses, depending on the context. We also discussed how language influences these perceptions. Languages like French and Arabic, which have gendered nouns, shape how we think about abstract ideas. We then considered technology and AI, which, although often seen as masculine due to their association with logic, innovation, and control, can also have feminine elements like empathy and responsiveness. Ultimately, the gendering of concepts seems flexible, shaped by cultural values and the evolving ways we interact with ideas, people, and technologies.
And so, yeah, that was a great recap. And thank you to everyone that watched this video, and see you on the next one.